Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Hi, Janet. Welcome to IMS. I had the opportunity to meet with you, but for our audience, tell us who you are.
Hi, Rick. Thank you for this time. My name is Yanet Comesanas, and I am the director of Onco in the Miami office.
Awesome. Tell us about your professional story.
Yes, so I am currently based in Miami, and I oversee the office at the Miami office. So I started my career in real estate about 10 years ago, and then I transitioned into the legal field about 7 years ago. I have a bachelor's in English literature, and I obtained a certificate in immigration law from the University of Miami.
Wonderful. All right. Tell us about the most complex legal challenge you have overcome for a client and how you navigated it.
Yes. So our law firm, we have multiple offices across multiple countries. So we handle a lot of cross-border and international matters. So when it comes to complexities, we definitely deal with that in that sense that, well, when a client comes to us for business or legal matters, we need to really kind of put together a puzzle in terms of understanding their needs from a legal perspective and from a business perspective. So every new case is a challenge to be able to incorporate their needs into our solutions. So pretty much every day is a new challenge when it comes to dealing with different types of professionals in this aspect.
Especially in the current administration.
Yes, this administration, just like any administration, comes with a lot of changes. And that's why I think it's very important to make sure that you hire professionals that you can trust.
Awesome. What operational mistakes have you encountered and what lessons did you learn from them?
Yeah, in our field, I believe communication is the most important aspect of what we do. So throughout my career, I've learned from mistakes when it comes to that. I've learned how to be very proactive with communication and really putting myself in the position of the client. You know, from our end, for example, we know that a case is moving and we're working on the case, but if there's silence from the client, then they don't know what's happening. And it is a very sensitive topics. We deal with personal matters, and well, no matter who the person is, we deal with business professionals and corporate clients, and they could be the CEO of a company, a very important company, but they're still transitioning into a new country, and that's very new to them. So it's really what I've learned is to try to understand things from the client's perspective and be very proactive with communication so that they feel comfortable and informed throughout the process.
How do you translate the complex legal jargon into easy communication narrative?
So the more you know about your topic, the easier and your expert and your profession, the better you can explain it, right? So really becoming an expert in your field is very important to be able to translate that to the client. Because if you can understand it completely, then you will understand how to break it down in simple terms. And also, I think communication is a skill and it's learned with practice. Me being an English major really allows me to understand communication, undertones, and that is something that everybody learns along their career. So it is a skill that you have to put to practice and you have to learn from previous mistakes. You also learn how to detect patterns and pattern recognition. So you kind of understand what clients are going to ask or what worries them or what doesn't worry them. So that's when it comes down to always proactive communication.
It sounds like listening also is a big part of this skill, right? Listening.
Yes.
And watching for, human interactions.
Exactly. It is very working with with people is just, well, at the end of the day, it's important to remember that legal professionals are public servants, right? We're here to serve the public, and you really do develop skills in not just like the business aspect, but kind of like therapy in a way. Like I said, people are so nervous moving into another country. They're expanding their businesses. They're bringing their family. So you really learn how to be empathetic and understand things from their side.
Wonderful. What is the most significant shift you see in the legal industry today?
So, of course, we can talk about technology and AI, and that is definitely the biggest shift. It's helping us process technical work faster and more efficiently, and law firms are really investing heavily into that. However, interestingly enough, I believe that because we have so much technology and AI, I think that the personal human connection is becoming more important than ever, because at the end of the day, one can learn technical skills, and that's something that we can rely on technology for as well. But people are going to focus more on the human connection and how that person treats them, or how the company and the organization treats clients. And also, I think we're moving away from traditional big law in some matters. In some ways, I'm noticing that newer and younger generation of legal professionals are not focused on getting into big law as much, and they really want to get into smaller teams, maybe international teams. Smaller teams with larger presence in different countries, just like our company. And that allows for more of boutique services with the clients, and also less hierarchy when it comes to employees.
Okay. So let's talk about the legacy of the organization. If a former client was to recommend you to a loved one in a time of crisis, what would you expect they would say about your firm?
So I would hope that they remember us as thoughtful, reliable, and supportive during an important time in their lives, right? Clients trust us with sometimes the most important moments of their life, whether it's transitioning their family from different countries, expanding their businesses, bringing in their most trusted employees into the US. So I really hope that they remember us as professionals that were there for them during a very important moment of their lives. Immigration matters can expand multiple years. And so we've seen sometimes we work with families for maybe even 10 years. So that really comes to show how important accompanying clients becomes, right?
Yeah, very good. Well, how do you will hope they talk about Yanet Comesanas?
I hope that they see me as somebody who was present for them, and that was attentive to their needs, and that it's somebody that, well, hopefully they can see me as somebody that they trust, right? Because sometimes we're put in a position where we have to break difficult news, or maybe a case, took longer than it needed to, or the government delayed it, or we're seeing backlogs. And I would hope that they would remember me as somebody who was able to provide guidance in a compassionate way, as well as being professional.
Somebody who cared about them.
Yes, exactly. I think that that's the important thing working in this field, right? We can't think of people as papers or just another process. We always have to remember that there's people behind those processes.
All right. So in that process, and especially, when you have bad news to deliver, and when your personal life gets all messed up, how do you stay grounded? How do you get to a space where you don't become anxious yourself?
Yeah. It's important to me to remember the purpose of the work and why we're doing it. Even if a case might not be the strongest case, or maybe it's not the right moment, but we always have to remember, and it's obviously this field comes with stressful factors, but if we remember that this person is going to remember us for the rest of our lives, that keeps me motivated. And it's also great to rely on a great, strong team. We have a strong team in the Miami office, and we have multiple offices where we have very trustworthy professionals. And it's good to be able to rely on that, right? That we have those colleagues that are also taking the work just as seriously as I am. So that makes me feel comfortable, and it makes me feel trusting, right? And that takes away some of the challenges and some of those trust factors from the field.
Okay. That's awesome. What fundamental piece of advice would you give to a young professional starting out their professional career?
So I would say, and this is maybe not what's expected from the legal field, but I would say to stay creative. I think as individuals and as professionals, we can approach every obstacle or situation with a creative mindset. And I think that human beings in nature are more creative than we give ourselves credit for. So I approach everything in my career with a creative mindset. I am an English major. I am an artist at heart. And just because I'm working in a field where, everything seems like it's like a type A field, doesn't mean that I can't apply that creative mindset to solve problems, to direct a team, to, deal with clients. So I think that's the biggest advice. We focus a lot on STEM and all that, but being creative is it's how you come up with creative solutions, right?
Yeah. Okay. So on that specific field, I like that. I didn't know about yourself, what would you hope your legacy be in your professional career?
Definitely that I approach everything with heart and professionalism. I am always trying to improve myself as an individual and as a professional. And also, I am enjoying and I really mentoring others. So that's where I am at currently in my profession. I enjoy helping others succeed in their position. So I would hope that the individuals who work with me remember me as somebody that was there for them and that was able to guide them through their career. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to clients as well as our own teams, their success is our success, right? So that's what I think I hope my legacy would be.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for being in IMS. Thank you very much for being part of IMS. Look forward to getting to know you more and collaborating with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.